The city lights flickered in the distance, but for David, they offered no warmth. He sat on a cold bench in a quiet alley, his coat tattered, his hands numb from the biting wind. Once, he had a home, a family, and a job. But a series of misfortunes, a lost job, an illness, and an unbearable grief after his wife passed, had left him with nothing. "God, do you even see me?" he whispered, staring at the starless sky. The sound of footsteps made him pull his thin blanket tighter. A woman in a warm coat walked by, glancing at him before quickly looking away. He was used to it, the looks of pity, the hurried steps, the way people avoided meeting his eyes. But then, something different happened. A young girl tugged at her mother's sleeve and whispered, "Mommy, we should help him." The woman hesitated, then reached into her bag, pulling out a sandwich and a bottle of water. She handed them to David with a gentle smile. "God bless you," she said softly before walking away. David blinked, overwhelmed. It was a small act, but to him, it felt like a whisper from God, "I see you. I have not forgotten you." That night, as David tried to sleep on the hard pavement, the words of the woman echoed in his mind. He hadn't thought about God in years. Life had been too cruel. But something inside him stirred, a flicker of hope he thought had died long ago. The next morning, he wandered into a small church nearby, drawn in by the sound of hymns. He sat quietly in the back, unnoticed. The warmth of the place, the voices lifted in praise, it felt like home. After the service, an elderly man approached him. "You're new here, aren't you?" David hesitated but nodded. "My name's Jacob. Would you like to join us for lunch? We serve meals for those in need." David was wary, but hunger won over doubt. He followed Jacob to a small hall where volunteers were serving hot meals. As he ate, a feeling of comfort washed over him. These people, strangers, treated him with kindness, without judgment. Jacob sat beside him and smiled. "God hasn't forgotten you, my friend. He led you here for a reason." David swallowed hard. Could it be true? Had God really guided him here? Over the next few weeks, David kept returning to the church. He found warmth, food, and, most importantly, people who truly cared. The pastor shared Bible verses with him, reminding him that God loved him, even in his darkest moments. One day, Jacob approached him again. "David, have you ever thought about starting over?" David looked down. "I wouldn't even know where to begin." "Well," Jacob said, "we have a program to help people get back on their feet. We can find you a place to stay, and even help you get a job." Tears welled up in David's eyes. He had never expected a second chance. But here it was, an opportunity wrapped in God's mercy. With the church's help, David moved into a small shelter. He found work at a local cafe, washing dishes. It wasn't much, but it was a start. And with each passing day, his faith grew stronger. Months later, David stood outside the church, watching as volunteers handed out meals to the homeless, people who were just like he had been. A man sat alone, shivering. David walked over, handing him a sandwich and a warm cup of coffee. The man looked up, his eyes filled with sorrow. "Why are you helping me?" he asked. David smiled gently. "Because someone once helped me when I thought I was beyond saving. And because God never forgets us, even when we think He has." As he walked away, he whispered, "Thank you, Lord, for leading me home." David's life had changed, not through wealth or comfort, but through the love of God working through people. He learned that no one is too lost for God to find, too broken for Him to heal, or too forgotten for Him to love. No matter how far we fall, God's grace is always there to lift us up. The Lord is close to the brokenhearted and saves those who are crushed in spirit.